Today on How to Retire, we are joined by Namubiru Mabusela, a certified financial advisor, financial advocate, and proudly a financial doctor. She has built her career around life-centered yeah. She has built her career around life-centered financial planning, a holistic approach that prioritizes purpose, clarity, and long-term well-being. In this conversation, we get to unpack one of the most important yet often overlooked aspects of financial wealth, retirement planning for young professionals. From what to start with to how to stay committed to understanding the products that shape a secure future. Namubiru helps demystify a journey many fear or delay. Without wasting time, Namubiru, welcome to Incon.
Thank you so much, Paul. Hi to you and hi to your listeners as well. Thank you so much for having me.
Also, actually, it's not self-esteem.
Oh my gosh. Excuse me about that. Hi, Tepiso.
No problem. Yeah, before we start there, I just want, how does one pronounce?
Okay, all right. That is a great one, right? Because normally I hear people pronouncing all sorts of Namubirus, in
Yeah.
emails and all those kind of things. It's quite very crazy. But you pronounce my name as Namubiru. And if you are unable to, then I would prefer that you call me Nams. Or alternatively, you can call me Namo. I'm definitely very comfortable with that.
So I want to start with your academic journey. Now, your academic journey shows a strong progression from a national diploma to a bachelor's in financial markets and a
Yeah,
BCom honors in financial planning. What initially drew you to
definitely.
the financial planning and advisory?
Definitely. Look, before I can actually speak about the financial planning and advisory space, like what really drew me to that, I think I'm going to look back into the time when I finished with my grade 12. So I finished grade 12 in 2014. That's when I finished with grade 12. And for me, career-wise, each and every single thing was just so limited, because I literally had no idea on who I wanted to be as a young person, and I wish that I did sciences because I felt like sciences actually provided more opportunities. But for somebody who did humanities with good academic record, I literally had no idea on what to do. So I went into my first job, which was crazy. I was once a waitress, that was my first job, and that's where I got my first paycheck as well. But being somebody who loves networking, and speaking to people, I got inspired by bomamas that clean, bomamas that you meet there and they're cleaning, taking care of their families and all of that.
Yeah.
They would be like, you're quite still very young. Go back to school, try to do that and that and that, And luckily, I listened when they spoke to me. And when I started off my journey in financial planning, it wasn't something that I planned to do because I had been approved for become honors in economics and econometrics, right, from the University of Johannesburg. But because of financial constraints and all those kind of things, I found myself doing a diploma in financial service operations, for which I advanced 3 years later, and I did my advanced diploma in financial markets. And I went on to do my become honors in financial planning, all at the same institution. So it wasn't really an easy journey, of inspiration of that and that. But for me, it was more based on a calling as well as understanding what financial management looks like for a young person like myself.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I also did my matric in 2014. Same
Oh,
year.
wow. Wow, that
Uh,
is crazy.
so you have a bachelor's in financial markets. So usually when I hear financial markets, I think of the
Yeah.
JSE. So how
Yeah.
come you didn't go that route and you went the financial plan?
Yeah, well, I think for me, being somebody that has had money, as a young person, and they didn't really know how to manage that money wisely, what to do with the money, GT, credit scores, and all those kind of things. I was more interested in understanding how to manage my money as well as managing other people's money, kind of like guiding people through when it comes to their financial well-being. When we look at the GSE, we're looking at financial markets, we're looking at investments. So this is when you are an investment analyst, understanding how financial markets work and all those kind of things. And for me, that is not my interest. Yes, I do have knowledge, I do have experience when it comes to that, but then guiding young professionals, young people, when it comes to their financial well being, it's something that I value more than having to become an investment analyst or consultant.
Okay. So you also hold the RE5 certificate, which is essential for
Yes,
representatives in financial services. Ne? What
yes,
did
yes,
preparing
yes.
for RE5 teach you about the responsibility that with advice?
Yeah, yeah. Look, when we look at RAE5, for me, the one thing that I can pick up the most is compliance. Because being a financial advisor, me sitting down with a client and listening to their financial goals and try to send through recommendations and so on, it's not a matter of me just saying things, or rather sending through recommendations. But then I also need to comply, with the laws, with the
Yeah.
requirements and all those kind of things, right? And it also does speak about knowing your client. And just to give you a real example about that, I deal with different clients on a daily basis, and the most recent one that I dealt with that fits with know your client was one that won the lottery. So they won the lottery jackpot. I think it was the day lottery or something. Yeah, so they won that. That was about 500,000. And they came to me when they were only left with 50,000. You know, so we're speaking about people that have never been in the investment environment before. They have never really saved, invested, and all those kind of things. They want to invest the 50,000 and they want to turn it into 100,000, in the next 5 years. For me, it is possible for me to do something like that. But honestly speaking, looking at that kind of profile, it still goes back to my RE5, having to comply, having to understand my clients before I am able to recommend any products, any benefits, or rather any advice that I can give them.
Oh, okay. So I've completing an RE5 can be quite challenging. Was that the case?
Well, I believe in something, right? And this is something that I believe in outside of my professional journey. Once you let somebody tell you that this is difficult, this is challenging, then it is going to be challenging for you. Because my experience with RAE5, yes, I did consult with advisors that had completed their RAE5. And majority of advisors that did not obtain their RAE5 from the very first try, they would say the same thing. This is difficult. This is challenging. You need a week of preparation, 2 weeks of preparations before writing your RAE5. With me, I try as much as possible to take out any negativity in a conversation, in my surrounding, and I try to focus on what I need to do. It wasn't really challenging for me though. It was stressful somehow. It was really
Yeah.
stressful somehow, but it wasn't really challenging at all because I did obtain my RAE5 from the very first attempt, which was amazing as well. And it took me around about 3 days to also prepare for that. So it's not really challenging. It's challenging when somebody says that it's challenging and when you believe that it is challenging.
Oh, shout out to you for right at the first.
Thank
So
you so much. I'm proud of myself.
so how do you integrate life-centered financial planning into real client conversations, especially when discussing
Yeah.
retirement?
Yeah, that is a great one, actually, right? So for me, when it comes to that, I'm gonna have to look into the goal, the plan that you have as well as an individual, because what I actually realized is that you don't just stand up and plan for retirement, not really plan for retirement, but then start saving for retirement just like that. Each and every single thing requires a plan. And whenever I interact with my clients, with my members, I need to understand where you are as an individual. And then from there, we can then start having a plan in place to say that, all right, this is you. This is when you are going to retire, perhaps in the next ABCD years. This is what you are most likely to face during this retirement journey. Then from there, we are also able to come up with a plan.
Okay, so do young professionals know their life story well enough when planning for?
I beg your pardon?
I was saying, do you think young professionals know their story well enough when planning for?
Definitely not. Definitely not. I don't really think young professionals know their story when it comes to, getting prepared for retirement. I think we also need to look into the different segments out there. So currently, I specialize with 80%. 80% of my clients are in engineering, so we're looking at chemical engineering, mining, mechanical, any kind of engineering that you can think about. And if you look into this segment, right, majority of the young professionals do not really understand anything about their financial well-being. But if you get somebody from comments, somebody who did accounting, they might have a plan on how their retirement journey might look like, or rather on what they may need and all those kind of things. So to answer your question, I would definitely say no.
Okay. So in your experience, what is the biggest barrier stopping young professionals from planning for retirement age? And how do you help them?
That is a nice question, Tapiso. Well, there is different factors that we can look into out there. But for me, the one that I think of the most is peer pressure. So we are looking into social media like your Instagram, or alternatively, social media like your TikTok. Once you see that your ex-friend, or rather your friend, is living a certain lifestyle, you might also want to live that kind of lifestyle, but then you do not understand what it took for them to live that kind of lifestyle. Or alternatively, comparisons. We try as much as possible to compare ourselves to others, to reach a stage that somebody is at and all of that. And apart from social media, there's just something that we experience the most as young people. I don't really want to call it black tax, but I'm rather going to call it family responsibilities. So being that young person that has just started with their career, with their journey, and yet you still have to support people back home. That takes out a lot of money from your pocket as well. And at the same time, that may also depress you somehow. So in reality, having those kind of factors will make it quite very difficult for a young person to save up towards their retirement, to start with their retirement journey.
So a person who deals with me, uh, you said you don't want to call it black name, but if a
Yes,
person
yes.
is going through that, how must one navigate?
Yeah, this is what I normally tell my clients, by the way. I normally tell them that when you get a job, you never share how much you earn with your family members. So you don't sit them down and say, this is how much I get each and every single month. This is what's happening and all those kind of things. You never, 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 never speak about your salary, because reality is once you start speaking about your salary, we all now make plans on your salary. I'm thinking
Yeah.
about that item that I want to get, thinking about that with your own paycheck. So first rule, you never speak about your salary. Then you need to have boundaries all the time. You need to understand the kind of person that you want to become. And now when it comes to you supporting your family, you don't just give money just like that. You need to remember that a budget is there to guide you. A budget is there to create boundaries as well. So you need to remember how much you need to give back to your family on a monthly basis. Plan is to give back 2,000 rands each and every single month. Don't get the full 2,000 rands and then you give it straight to your family members. It could be your mom, it could be anybody that that receives the money from you. So you don't just get the money straight and be like, here's a 2,000 rands. Because high chances are, if you do that, they will remember that you have so much money. So anytime they're going to run straight back to you. But initially, if your plan is 2,000 rands, give that in portions. First round, give 500 rands. And if something comes up during the month, give another 500 rands and all those kind of things. But just set boundaries, by the way. And the last one that I could say, it's cry all the time. When someone comes to you and says, this is happening to me, my dog died, and this is how much we need. ABCD and everything, come up with a problem as well. Cry with them so they can also understand that you do not have money. You do have money, but it's planned for other things. So just try as much as possible, by the way, to have boundaries when it comes to family members.
The tips that you shared, especially the said, you mustn't tell them how much.
Yes, you don't
Uh,
tell them how much you earn. You never do that.
That means I'm on
Most definitely, you are on the right track. And if they ever ask you how much you earn, they an amount way lesser than that, maybe
uh,
60% of what you earn.
you work with various investment
Yes,
insurance, risk
yes,
management, retirement
yeah,
planning. So for a young
yeah.
professional who is just starting out, which products should they prioritize first?
Yeah. Look, I'm gonna have to look back into a financial strategy called the financial pyramid, right? Because there is different products out there, and it is necessary to have almost all the products, or rather majority of the products. But at the same time, you need to understand what the financial pyramid looks like, or rather what it does represent. So just to give you an idea of the financial pyramid, it starts off with the foundation on how your finances should be structured. Remember that your income is your greatest asset at the moment, your ability to earn an income. So, in events like retrenchment, or rather anything physical or rather mentally that may result to you not being able to carry on with your occupation, that means that the source of income that you used to receive each and every single month does not come your way anymore. So, when we look into the financial pyramid, we look into protecting our income first. You protect your income in two aspects. You have yourself an emergency account, which is normally 3 to 6 times your month-to-month salary. If your month-to-month salary is 20,000, this emergency account should at least be 3 to 6 times bigger than that. And the second portion that we need to look into is having an income protection. If you remember very much, if anything happens to your physical well-being, so this could be a sickness, this could be an injury, this could be a chronic condition. If anything happens your way, please understand that you still want your income to come your way each and every single month. So whenever we look into the financial pyramid, we need to look into that aspect first. Protect your income. And once you're done protecting your income, then now you can move on to insurance. Insurance, we are looking at disability cover. We are looking at a life cover. We are also considering a critical illness cover. I've been that person that actually started their financial journey off with investments. And I see a lot of young people getting involved in that same space, without really having insurance. And I remember when I got involved in a car accident, there was a whole lot of setbacks that I experienced because I had no insurance at all. Should you get an injury, you are going to experience a whole lot of financial complications from your medical bills to your disability gadgets as well, or other lifestyle adjustments and all those kind of things. So look into starting off with your financial pyramid in that way. We start off with protecting your salary, we move on to insurance, and then now we can move on to retirement savings as well as investments. Because here's the thing as well, and this is something that normally happens all the time. If you are that one person that jumps straight into having a retirement account, because you understand the importance of having a retirement account, if life happens to you during that process, because retirement is at 60, 65, and if life happens to you before the age of 60 or rather 65, high chances are you are going to withdraw from your retirement account to fund for the expenses, that you are currently experiencing. Oh, never, never, never once again rush into retirement, saving up towards a retirement without building your financial foundation with an emergency account and insurance. So I think that is definitely my suggestion when it comes to that.
So when you say protect do you mean
Yes.
by using any major or is there in
Yeah,
progress?
definitely. So you protect your income in two ways, right? Because
Yeah.
when you think about protecting your income, you're thinking about different events. You're thinking about when you get a time when you get retrenched, or maybe when you resign, maybe when you get dismissed, right? You're thinking about that. But please also understand that these three events, they do not involve you being sick. You are still physically fine. It's just that you've been retrenched, or rather you have resigned, meaning that you need to find a job eventually. And then
Wow.
we're also looking at another planning. So the planning under those three events that I have just mentioned right now, it's through investments or rather savings. That's where the emergency fund comes into place. Now we look at the worst case scenario, and this is the planning through insurance. This is what we call the monthly income protection. Normally, what the monthly income protection does is that it only pays out when you are sick, when you are disabled, or rather when you experience any chronic condition. Please understand that in these events, you will not be able to carry on with your occupation because you are physically and mentally unable to do that. But your expenses will never understand that, you know what, Tsepiso is sick, Tsepiso is that, so we need to limit ourselves or something. Your expenses will still pile up over and over again. So, to plan for such events, we'll look into having your emergency account as well as having an income protection as an insurance benefit.
Oh, okay. No. So if maybe a person is highly but wants to start planning for retirement, how would you advise them?
Look, first thing is first, and this is normally what I do with my clients as well. You need to understand that you need to have a plan in place. You can't just go into retirement like that. Let's have a plan in place. Let's plan accordingly, and then we will be able to implement the best solution for you all the time. But for me, it still goes back to the mindset, because I think the one mistake that we normally rush into as young people is to think that retirement is quite very expensive, or you need to have at least 5,000 rands each and every single month to have a retirement plan in place. So you start off small, could say start off with 500 rands each and every single month. I think that is quite affordable. I know some financial institutions like Sanlam, they have retirement accounts of 250 rands each and every single month. So if you are that person, then I believe that that is actually very, very doable. But consult with a financial advisor as well. As a financial advisor, add value to your life in comparison to what AI can do, or rather any AI tools, or maybe what Google can do. Because also, I think in most cases, young people normally go to the internet and they research like that and that and that and that, and then that stops there. But then have a consultation with the financial advisor to understand where you are right now. Do you have any debt in place? Do you have any financial responsibilities? How does your budget look like? And then from there, they will be able to assist you when it comes to implementing a plan towards a retirement being.
So let's say I come to you as a financial advisor, ne? So how do I
Mm.
compensate you? Do you get a fee from the products that you sell me, or maybe I come with the money straight and give it to you?
Yeah, definitely. Tepo, that is a great question. All right. That is a great one. And this is also one of the reasons as to why most people do not really want to go to financial advisors. As a financial advisor, I earn on commission. So I get a fee on a specific product that you take onto. But the one thing that I have also realized, and this is something that is happening over and over again, most young people want to come to you and they just want to consult, because I don't really charge a fee when it comes to my consultations. However, previously, actually, I never really charged a fee. I don't charge a fee for somebody who takes on a specific product. But for
Yeah.
somebody who does not really take on a product, I mean, you understand that I'm going to spend about an hour with you, or rather an hour plus, or rather having more sessions than that. And if you keep on coming over and over again, I'm not really benefiting anything at the end of the day. So normally with such profiles, I would charge them a fee of 500 rands per session. If you are not willing to take on any product, any benefit at all. But for the first session, I don't really charge you anything, because first session, I need to understand where you are right now. And then I need to also understand how we are going to be able to go on. And also, this is something that I lay out from our very first conversation. So you also know what you are getting involved into.
So when it comes to retirement products, we have retirement annuities,
Yeah.
pension fund, provident funds, tax.
Mm,
So
mm.
with those products, what are the key differences young people should?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the one key difference that we should be aware of, it's compliance, the taxation behind these products, as well as how these products function. Let me just compare 3 products from what you have mentioned. The very first one that I can look into, it's your employee benefits. One thing that I hear from young people saying, most young people would say, my company contributes towards my retirement. So why should I also contribute towards my retirement well-being if the company contributes towards my retirement? Please understand that whatever that the company contributes, it's not enough, to accumulate a specific amount of money that you need at retirement. Because to be realistic, life expectancy these days is about people live until the age of 90, or rather 80 something. But alternatively, over here, let's rather focus on 90. So if you are one person that wants to retire at 60, that basically means that you are not going to be employed. And I'm not speaking about being self-employed. So having property whereby you accumulate money over and over again each and every single month, that is non-retirement. That is you being self-employed. Retiring basically means that you aren't going to work. You're just going to sit around each and every single day and wait for the money to come in on a monthly basis. That is what retirement looks like. When we look at your employee benefits will never accumulate the amount of money that you need at retirement. The average amount that one needs to retire comfortable with is 5 million. So if your employer right now, as a 25-year-old, as a 30-year-old, however old you may be, if your employer contributes 2,000 rands each and every single month, would you say that 2,000 rands will accumulate to 5 million at the age of 60? Do you think that is going to be possible? Definitely not. Most definitely. So your employee benefits, it's there to assist you, to contribute towards your retirement provisions, but not completely. So if you are that one person that has such a product in place, please remember that you still need to have your own personal retirement provisions. Then when you look at a tax-free savings account, this is, by the way, my favorite. This is the best benefit, or rather the best product that one should take on, if you don't have a retirement account, or maybe if you have a retirement account. Because let's face it, nobody likes tax. Your paycheck comes in each and every single month and you're looking at it and you're just like, I wish the taxman knew what I could do with this money. They would never take this money at all. So your tax-free savings account, it's there for you to make use of the tax advantage. As an individual right now, you are allowed an opportunity of contributing 36,000 towards your tax-free savings account in a given year. So if you have this under investments, that basically means that the 36,000 will make a return for you and the return gets reinvested, for capital accumulation. So if each and every single year you can accumulate thousands, then it makes it quite very easy for you to have a higher figure by the time you retire. But for the rest of your lifestyle, your life, you are only allowed to make a contribution of 500,000 rands. So if you start young right now, if you start right now to contribute towards your retirement, your tax-free savings account, high chances are in the next 13 years, you should have definitely reached the limit, which is 500,000. Now you let that 500,000 still sit in the account, allow it to accumulate profits, returns, and all those kind of things. And by the time you reach the age of 60, you have good money, to retire not really comfortable with, but then you have a good amount of money that will not be taxed at all.
So, how do we treat a tax-free savings account, Nick? Do we treat it as a savings account or an investment?
Yeah, well, I've seen people treating their tax-free savings account as a savings account, and I'm just like, don't do that. Do not treat your tax-free savings account as a savings account, because you're missing out on a whole lot of money. Because remember, the concept behind the tax-free savings account is that, yes, you are contributing this 36,000. Now, when that 36,000 make a return for you, the return gets reinvested. That return does not get taxed as well. And if that return also makes more money for you, that money doesn't get taxed at all. Think about it right now. If you start your tax-free savings account in the next 30 years, that tax-free savings account should have accumulated a great amount of money. All that money, you're taking it out without any taxation, without any penalties. But for somebody who uses their tax-free savings account as a savings option, as a savings, vehicle instead of as an investment vehicle, they are not going to benefit from the whole tax advantage though. Like, I don't see you having to benefit from the tax advantage because 1 to 1 2, you're taking out the money from your tax-free savings account, over and over again because you're using it as your emergency account, as your saving component, and so on, So never use your tax-free savings account as a savings option. Rather, make use of your tax-free savings account as an investment account, and not just short-term investment, but long-term. Long-term like retirement provisions, or rather long-term like having to plan for your child's education. That is a very good way as well on how to make use of a tax-free savings account.
Mhm. So, for short term, which products should?
For short term, make use of your normal bank savings account. So if we have to look into your emergency account, normally there's this bank that I recommend all the time, Time Bank. I think
Yeah.
that is the best investment vehicle that we can look into if you're looking to save up towards or rather if you're looking to build your emergency account. Because what this bank doesn't do, they do not really charge you any month-to-month fees. So you are already reducing on the costs. You get charged 50 cents per transaction, and remember, you're not using this account to transact on a month-to-month basis, or rather on a weekly or maybe daily basis. You are using this account to save up for your emergency, to build your emergency, or alternatively, just saving up for seasons like this, like December, it's a spending season. So you're having to make use of your time bank savings, your time bank account. It's a very great vehicle for you to consider when it comes to this.
So, every investment product has a risk. What are some of having a risk?
Of a retirement product.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say you having to access your money before the allowable retirement age, because remember most retirement products, they have different ages that you can have access to the money. Some retirement products, they will say at the age of 55, you may have access to your retirement savings. However, the tax that you get charged, for accessing your retirement funds at the allowable retirement age. So in this case, at the age of 55, or alternatively at the age of 60. If you ever access your money at the allowable age, the amount of tax that you are going to pay will be quite very less. But if you are that one person that actually wants to have access to their retirement vehicle before the allowable age. So you are 40, you are 30, you are, below the age of 60 or maybe 55 as well, right? Depending on the kind of retirement vehicle that you have. If you ever decide to take out your money before the allowable retirement age, then you are going to get taxed heavier than somebody
Oh,
who
okay.
accesses their money, at 60 and above.
So, if I invest in I won't my money. It's a guaranteed that I will get it. Uh,
I think we need to look back into the concept of investments. When we look into investments, we are looking at risk and return. So what that means is that you might lose a portion of your money. I've never really heard of investors that have lost all their monies. I think the only investors that have lost their money, it's investors that are betting, like those that put in so much and they're out here betting and so on. Those are the only investors that are more likely to lose their money, like all of it, right? Or maybe 90% of their money. But then what risk says, there is chances of you losing a portion of your money. And there is also chances of you getting back more than what you put in. That is literally what investments mean. But then now when it comes to you having to invest for retirement, you are investing for a long period of time. Right now, Tepo, if I'm 30 years old at the moment, well, I'm not, but if I'm 30 years old at the moment, and then I select to get involved in a retirement account, that means that I might want to retire at the age of 65. If we look at the difference between 65 and 30, that is a whole 35 years of investing. So when it comes to investments, if I invest for that 35-year duration, high chances are I'm going to lose a portion of my money, but eventually I'm going to make that money back, because I'm investing for a longer period of time. Never at all really heard of anybody that has lost all their money when it comes to retirement, but just a funny story about this, because I know that when we hear the term risk, we literally feel like, I don't want to lose. I don't want to get involved because I might lose my money and everything. That is a human instinct. But one of my members actually shared a very funny story. She said, auntie, yeah, I think it's her mommy, who was also scared of getting involved in investments. So during her lifetime, she decided to actually invest for her retirement in a bank savings account. So she had her money in her bank savings account all this time. 40 years later, the money's there. Until, yeah, it's a sad story, by the way. Until part of the teenagers, I don't know if it's the cousins or whoever, I don't know, they found out that, oh, auntie has close to R1 million, in her in her bank savings account. They figured ways on how to take money out from the account, and she realized that she had zero when she was 59 years old. That is somebody who is turned 60. Oh gosh, I felt so sorry when I heard this story. But she woke up every day and she would scream and go back to bed and scream and go back to bed because she couldn't understand what just happened. Imagine saving up all this time in your bank savings account, just for two young people to come in and steal all your money. And you only have a year before you can retire, which is crazy. So having to invest in things like or rather having to save, rather, not invest, having to save using a bank savings account, it's very risky, because these are accounts that can easily be accessible. But when it comes to your retirement account, before money can be withdrawn from your retirement account, there is a lot of compliance that you need to go through. So it's not a very easy process of click, 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 money out. We need to go through a whole lot of paperwork, like all the time. So just to reflect back, let's not look into investing for retirement as a way of, I'm going to lose my money. Remember, you're investing for a long period of time. Yes, there's chances that you might lose a portion of your money, but you also still have a long term for you to make up way more than what you lost.
Yeah, Emma, that's a very sad story. So,
Very good,
yeah,
crazy. That is crazy.
if it was me, I would have opened a case for each and every one of them.
I hope she did that. My gosh, I hope she did that. But I don't think getting them arrested is enough.
Uh,
It's not enough. It's not enough at all. But yeah.
So, retirement planning often seems rigid, but life is unpredictable. How do
Yeah.
you help clients adjust their retirement plans when their life circumstances change?
Yeah. Look, Tepo, we still have to go back to the financial pyramid, by the way. If I'm to answer this, I'm definitely going to go back to the financial pyramid because life is definitely uncertain. There's a whole lot of uncertainty that comes with life. But if you start your financial plan off by having the income protection, or rather the emergency fund as well as the very first foundation, and then you move on to insurance, then now you can look into retirement, then there's no way that you aren't going to become successful when it comes to retirement savings, or rather the goal that you would also want to have in place.
So, have you had to completely redesign a client's retirement plan before? What caused the shift?
Yeah. If I had to design someone's retirement, right, here's the first thing that I'm going to do. I'm going to look into their mindset. And I am also going to emphasize the importance of consistency. Because if you don't have that mindset of constantly saving up towards your retirement provisions, of constantly contributing towards your retirement provisions, high chances are you are going to fail when it comes to this. So first thing that I'm going to do is look into the mindset. Then second thing that I would definitely design this client's portfolio as is starting off with a tax-free savings account. Because remember the benefits of the tax advantage. You're making use of tax advantages. This is crazy. So I will definitely emphasize the tax-free savings account, and not only for the fact that yes, there is a tax advantage and all those kind of things. Remember your retirement account. If you ever decide to withdraw from your retirement account at an early stage, you will get taxed under what we call the early withdrawal tax rather, which is heavier tax than what you should have been charged, when it comes to taxation at the allowable retirement age. But then with a tax-free savings account, right, this gives you an idea that yes, I am saving up towards my retirement. This is a long-term investment. But if life comes your way, you could also have access to a portion of your tax-free savings account. And this portion comes with no tax at all. So for somebody that has never at all been involved in saving up towards their retirement, or anything retirement provision wise, say build your mindset first and then start off with your tax-free savings account as well as the asset allocation. By the way, it's a bit, I think
Yeah.
investments are just a lot. So when you look into structuring your own investment portfolio, over here we're speaking about retirement, we're speaking about long-term investment. And if I had to kind of like get your asset allocation, I would invest about 80 to 90% of your salary in high risk investments. So these are growth investments. And then the 20 to 10% would definitely go to the other investment vehicles. But for now, I think that is definitely how I would structure somebody's retirement profile if I had a chance to structure that.
Oh, that's awesome. So many young people don't really understand the role of a financial advisor. Based on your
Mm,
based on your experience, what value does an advisor add that people can't get from
mm,
Google or investment apps?
mm. Yeah. Look, when it comes to investment apps, they're just going to give you ideas that this is that and that and that. And some terminologies, you just don't understand them. I think in most cases, we also have developed something which says, let me pretend to understand, because it's going to be easier for me to maybe work out the plan or maybe get the idea behind this. But then as a financial advisor currently, I am somebody who relates back to you. And with me, normally when I have a conversation with my clients, when I have review sessions with my clients, I don't just speak about things that I learned from school or rather that I learned just like that. I speak about life experiences.
Yeah.
I would say when I went through this and that, this is exactly how I experienced this. And this is how I managed to work along with that in order to come out of it. So a financial advisor is very relatable. When I work with my clients, I work with their story. I want to be that person that tells a story in order for you to understand it way better. And also when it comes to engagement, you having to kind of like understand as somebody who has no idea of what this is your first experience and all those kind of things. I think it becomes way easier for you to engage with me as well as your financial advisor. So I think that is the value that I believe rather that is the value that financial advisors actually add in one's life.
Okay. Okay. We've come to the end of the show, but before I let you go, I want to know, what legacy would you like to leave in the financial advisory sector?
Look, when I think rather about the legacy that I would like to leave within the financial advisory sector, I think for me as a financial advisor, it is best for you to understand your client as well, understand their story, understand where they come from before you can provide any sort of advisory. And that is one thing that I also had to learn rather the hard way, being that person that listens to your story, that person that actually doesn't just recommendations just like that and say that, you know what, this is that and that, this is what you need to do and all those kind of things. So having to understand my clients first and understand their struggles, understand where they are at the moment and where they would like to be is something that I would definitely think that all financial advisors should look into.
So, for someone who wants to enter your field, would you suggest
Mm,
that they take the same route as you, or do you have
yeah.
a different way of entering?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure of the different ways because this also goes back to the institutions, like the tertiary institutions, the courses that they provide and everything. With me, I had to start off with a diploma in financial service operations. It wasn't something that I really, really, really wanted to do. But alternatively, I had to advance and then get my honors qualification as well. So there's nothing like somebody needs to follow my journey. I would say follow your journey, find out from from the tertiary institutions. So tertiary institutions like UJ or alternatively VETs, find out from there, what kind of courses they offer in order for you to be able to come into this financial space, being a financial advisor and so on. But just to also give you an idea to be on the
Yeah.
people that I worked with previously, nobody took the same journey that I did. I think I'm the only one that took the journey that I took in order for me to come in here. One of my ex-colleagues, they did law, actually two of my ex-colleagues, they actually did law. So they have a qualification in law. I think it's LLB. Then another one that I know of, they did humanities as well.
Yeah.
These are literally very different, but yet they are financial advisors. So for somebody who wants to get into the same space as me, you also need to have the heart of being a financial advisor because there's like a whole lot of upsides and down as well when it comes to that. But know your compliance and apply to companies that are out there offering this position, mostly entry level, just so that you can build your book and just so that you can understand how each and every single thing works.
With that being said, Namiburu, thank you for taking the time to chat with us and share your knowledge with us. I don't know if maybe you have any closing remarks you want to share with the people.
Thank you so much, Tepo, for having me as well. This was a good conversation to have. I actually enjoyed having this conversation with you. And hopefully anybody that is out there listening, they also do find it quite very valuable. So thank you so much, Tepo, for having me. And I wish you a great year. Tepiso,
Awesome. Thank
not
you. Thank you.
Tepiso.
You've been calling me Tepo Tepiso.
I think these two names are like literally cousins or brothers. Oh my gosh. But thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much, too.